Good afternoon, everyone. Today I want to talk about comparisonitis and competition versus co-creation, and why, for me, co-creation is such an important theme at the moment. And I'll talk a little bit more about how that came about in a little bit. First, I want to talk about the first two C's, so comparisonitis and competition. And one of the reasons, of course, that you have to let competition is I would say especially in self-publishing. I'm not sure if it's especially in self-publishing, but because that's where I know most people. I have most contacts. I see that a lot. Like, people compare themselves to others. Of course, people compare themselves to traditionally published authors, and when I say, I want to focus today on letting go of competition in favor of co-creation, and when I say letting go of competition, I'm not saying that you should not compare yourself to others entirely. Comparison can be healthy because if you compare yourself to others, for example, to your favorite author or somebody who writes in a particular way that you very much appreciate, you can actually learn from it, right? So if you compare, if you just live on your own little island and you never look at what other people are doing, you don't really know what you're doing exactly. So I don't think comparing is a problem necessarily, but it can become very unhealthy, and that's when we call it comparisonitis, and that's when you get stuck in constantly comparing yourself to others, seeing what they're doing. Should you be doing the same thing? Are you not successful because you're not doing what they're doing, etc.? So there's a line there. There's a line between you compare your work to others, or you compare your ideas to others, you compare your writing style to others, your craft to others, to see what you're doing and to see whether you maybe need to up your game or not. But it becomes unhealthy when it becomes paralyzing, when it makes you feel stuck, when it makes you feel no longer inspired, when you're I don't know, just when it makes you feel stuck, when you're like, I don't know what I'm doing, they're so much better than me, why am I doing this, I'm never going to get to their level, etc. That's when you know that's when you know when you're stuck in comparisonitis. Because the thing is, when comparing, when I talk about comparing as a healthy thing, that for me, that is comparing as an empowerment. So if it doesn't feel empowering, if you don't feel like, oh wow, this is good, this is me learning, this is me growing, if it doesn't feel empowering, then competition, comparisonitis is not a good thing. Okay, so there's a line for me. It's, as long as it feels empowering, you can compare as much as you want. But the moment it makes you start doubting yourself, it makes you feel bad about your writing, it makes you not want to write anymore, or anything else that crushes your soul, that's not good. So then you know this is comparisonitis and I need to stop doing this. So that is one thing. And of course, connected to that is perfectionism. So I would really suggest that you relax your ideas about perfectionism. I am very much, I love quality. So I don't think I'm a perfectionist. I know when things are done, but yeah, I do like quality. I don't appreciate reading works that have anything really. And this is not just about, there's a lot of self-publishing has a bad reputation. Because a lot of authors step editing phases to save some money. But I know, and that is true, I mean, that is absolutely true that they do that, and of course they shouldn't, because we don't want that bad reputation. But I have plenty of academic books or other traditionally published books with awful grammar or spelling mistakes. So it's not necessarily something that is a self-publishing thing. But yeah, same as with competition, there is a line. So when I say relax ideas of perfection, ideas of perfectionism, that doesn't mean that you should be lazy about it, right? It means that you know that good enough is truly good enough. It doesn't mean you become sloppy. You do the work. You absolutely do the work. We all do the work. But it's about knowing when the work is done and when it's safe to move on. And I would say that this is a trial and error thing, and with your first book, you won't know it. But it's like, as you write multiple books, you'll get a feel for it. You'll know, I'm actually done now. I can leave this alone. Like, it's fine. It's publishable like it is. I don't need to read it again to see if maybe somewhere I can remove another word. You know, it's good. It's all cool. So this is something that you will need to write a lot before you realize, before you know, like intuitively, yes, this is where I am. Like, I'm good. But for me, there goes like the competition and the perfectionism. Very dangerous. There's a balance there as well, of course. Like I said, don't be perfectionist, but don't be sloppy. Find that middle ground. And the same goes for competition. Find the middle ground. You know, to what extent is comparing healthy, and when does it become like terribly irrationally unhealthy? So that is the one side, the comparisonitis and the competition. So how about the other side, the co-creation? Well, for those who follow me on Instagram and who followed my tarot challenge, they know that this whole month, like it's the 27th, so we're almost done. This whole month, co-creation has been the theme for the cards that I've been drawing for myself. And my tarot deck, I used the Wild Unknown tarot deck by Kim Krantz. It's been very bitch slappy, very in my face, very confrontational, but it's been all about co-creation. It's all about, I'm afraid of teamwork because I have this feeling that, like I just said, like I like quality, right? I don't think I'm a perfectionist, but I do like quality. So I always feel very demanding. I feel, I tend to work, and this is just some, I wouldn't call it trauma, but this is just something that I have, like, that I remember from my university days. Like, I'm always the one who wants to go over something again, just to make sure that we got everything right? And I've always worked with people who are like, no, it's fine, just leave it, we're done. So this is how I think I got the feeling that I always want a little bit more. Like, I want people to just give that little bit more effort. And I think from that, I sort of got stuck with the feeling that working with me must be like a terrible, terrible exercise because I'm never happy, which I don't think is actually true. But this is just a sense I got when I just look at past endeavors with compulsory teamwork. So this whole month has been, for me, has been about like dealing with limiting beliefs I have around that. Beliefs about myself, like I said, that I'm really difficult to work with, that I demand way too much, that I'm needy, etc. So this is interesting that because not everyone knows this, but I pick these themes before the month starts, right? I use the Sovereign Oracle deck. If you follow me on Instagram, you just saw a picture of it. So I actually pick the themes of the lives before the month starts. So this theme was already there. And then the whole month, for me, my whole tarot challenge month was about co-creation. So that was interesting. So why is this on the other end? Like, why is this on the other end of comparisonitis and competition? Because comparisonitis and competition can make you feel really lonely. And I've said this before in the video, and multiple times in my videos. We keep thinking that writing is like a very lonely job and it's a very lonely existence. But I actually, and my VA is now responding on the video that I am just so terrible to work with, and then heart, love you. So thank you for that, Ashley. Yeah, so she's one of the people who makes me feel like I'm like the worst person to work with. But no, if you want to work with me, talk to her and actually check out what she has to say about that. Anyway, so now I lost my train of thought. Thank you. See, worst virtual assistant ever. Co-creation. Yeah, it's not like writing doesn't have to be a lonely endeavor because ever since I started like using the term like I am a writer, I write, I started connecting to so many people, and I haven't felt lonely about writing at all. I felt lonely about writing before I called myself a writer, before I dared to call myself a writer, because I was always, locked up in my room, writing, being secretive about it. Ever since I started to claim the title, I've connected to so many people. it never feels lonely anymore. There's always someone online I can do a writing sprint with. There's always someone online who is willing to look at a little bit that I just wrote. It's simply not a lonely. It's not a lonely thing to do. If that's not what you want, like if you want to be alone, if you want to do this all by yourself, I mean, feel free to do so. But for those people who crave connection, don't be afraid that writing has to be about you doing all that work just by yourself. Like you can work people. When I say co-creation, I don't necessarily mean that you have to team up with someone and like write a book together or do a project together. But it's also about this whole idea of, you know, writing, like they say raising a child, like you need a village. You also need a village to create a book. So even if you do all the work like creatively, just knowing that you have support around you, that is co-creation, right? You create it together because the people who support you, all the people around you, they help you feel better about what you're doing. And if you feel better about what you're doing, you'll feel more inspired and the words will flow more easily, right? So when I say co-creation, I also mean just embrace the people who support you around you, even if they don't actually literally work with you. Like of course, like I do the co-writing, which I love, and it's very useful. It's very useful. It's also challenging, but in like a really like I grew a lot, like especially communication. Why? So I should be more easy to work with now because I learned quite a bit from that project. It's an ongoing project, of course. We'll be publishing our first book the 22nd of June, my birthday. So keep look out for that. But yeah, so co-creation is a broader thing, but it's such a theme for me now that I wanted to talk a little bit about that because I've been, and I did talk about this in earlier videos, so as you know, it's been a recurring theme for me. Because yeah, it's definitely something that I need to work on, that like this whole trying to get it, to go at it alone. Apparently that's no longer serving me, so I need to go I need to expand and like include people even more than I already do in my process, because that'll be for my best interest, I'd say. That's a little bit my tarot challenge is pointing out, and well, actually, I actually do agree. So last thing I wanted to say about this, and this is like another level of co-creation, and I actually talked about this in the video 2 weeks ago, is that the more authentic you are about what you put out there, like the more freedom others will feel they have to be exactly who they are and to put out exactly what they want to put out. So it's a combination. Like if you let go of the comparing your message to others, also competing with others, and I think in competing with others, you'll also become less authentic because you worry way too much about what the other person is doing. Well, you should just be doing what you need to do. Like you're here for a purpose. Put out what you need to put out, right? So yeah, so the more you let go of comparisonitis and competition, the more aligned you'll be with yourself, the more self-confident you'll feel about expressing what you need to express. And the moment you start doing that, you'll also empower others to do the exact same thing. And that for me is also co-creation. So it's not just about you being supported, but in being supported, you'll be more able to be yourself and to do exactly what you need to do. And that will help others do the same thing. So it's also about paying it forward, I would say. That's it for today. If you have any questions about this, like I said, like if this whole going at it alone versus, you know, creating together, if that boggles you, like it does me, like send me a message and we can talk about that. Like it's slowly becoming clear to me now how co-creation will absolutely play a very important part of my life from now on. And I'm really working through the limiting beliefs as I go, so I can open myself up to new opportunities, new playmates, so to say, to do this thing together. So yeah, if you have any questions about that, do message me. Okay, have a good day and see you soon.